Shalom, shalom. This is another hit the button lesson before I head out to work. Um, to those men and women that are working, making money for your family, trying your best to stay afloat above water. You trying to make ends meet. You trying to make enough to get from point A to point B with the increase of gas prices and no increase on your wages, to be somewhat stable, to make it. And times are hard, and times are going to get even harder. And, you know, you have to, at the Christian church would say, you got to stay prayed up. You have to continue doing this work. You women, you have to continue being submissive to your husband and not being disobedient. Men, don't be disobedient to Yahweh. Be obedient to the Son and the Heavenly Father. This is how you're going to make it. You women, don't be and don't be out of line with your man. You want to get beamed up. You want to get taken up. You want to be delivered. That's everybody's main goal, is to be delivered, to hear those words, come up hither. You want to stand on that crystal glass, going through that fire, because when those missiles hit and you feel yourself ascending, the angels are with you, and covering you as you go through the fire. We are tried in the fire right now. Yahweh, Bashim Hawashai, his children, his silver and gold is going to be tested. We going to go through those trials and tribulations. Are you going to fold? Or are you going to let Esau be your God and be destroyed anyway? So that tried in the fire is your babies crying, wanting you to take that, take that the CHIP. Your mother, your father, they're gonna tell you, come out of that coat. We hungry. We want to go back to normalcy. You got to take it. See, this is the hour of temptation. You are being tried in the fire. And your faith is what is going to get you through this. The Heavenly Father, He's going to, number one, He's going to try you, and then He's going to strengthen you. He's strengthening you right now by, taking hold to this word. And then when it come down to test time, your family, your children, your woman, people in your neighborhood, whatever, you been a face, you're gonna face the guillotine. If you don't take it, you gotta, deal with this, a guillotine. You gotta deal with the ripping of your limbs and arms, and all types of torture, getting ripped apart by wild teeth of wild beasts. The Heavenly Father, He's going to test all of us. And whatever it is, you got to stay focused on the Lord. Nothing else. Stay focused on the Lord. I just wanted to, that was spiritual. It's something that came into mind. But some of us, the faithful ones, are going to get beamed up. Let's go to Matthew 24 and 40. Then 2 men will be in the field, and one will be taken, and one left. That one is left is a disbeliever. He laughed, he scoffed, and either he took the chip or he didn't. He was just a non-believer or he took the chip. Either one. He's a 2/3. He was left behind. 2 women will be grinding at the mill. One will be taken, one left. Again, this woman, she had that Matthew 7. Was Matthew 7:10. No, Matthew. Hold on, I think it's 2:10, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's 2:10. She was a non-believer. She said, "Who is your power?" Y'all been crying about this since the world began, and the same old shit that the prophet before was saying, y'all saying, and ain't nothing happened. You get what I'm saying? So let's go to Malachi 2:10 or 7. Micah 7:10. Then she that is my enemy shall see it, and shame shall cover her, which said unto me, where is Yahweh, your power? While she, twisting her rolling her eyes and twisting her neck. The Heavenly Father gonna twist that neck off your shoulders. My eyes shall behold her. Now shall she be trodden down as a mire of the street, mud. She gonna be stomped into mud in the street. She gonna be ripped apart. YNJ, the Heavenly Father, you non-believer, Heavenly Father gonna put a lot of you niggas in World War III. A lot of you simps gonna put you in World War III. Or you can be stomped as the mire of the street too. Fire is gonna come to 2/3 of our people that is being left behind. Let's go here. Therefore, stay awake. Don't fall asleep. Don't go back into the world. We already here at the door. Why would you want to go back in the world? What? I mean, why? Because you miss having a girlfriend? You miss PUSSY? She telling you, if you stay in the truth, I ain't gonna give you none. Are you that weak? Because you want to go back to normalcy. This is not living. Being a Israelite, which you are an Israelite. Due to the bloodline, because there's a lot of people that look like me is not an Israelite. And there's a lot of people that look Caucasian or, pale or, look like Edom, and they are Israelite, But, a lot of our people, they want to go back into the world. They miss the world. They miss eating certain food, pork, shrimp, crab, lobster. They miss the woman next door that they been dealing with for about 2 years, and now you woke up in the truth and you left it alone. But you got you got that urge coming back that you want to get back at her, and she looking good and she wants you and she calling you and you can't resist it, so you want to go back into the world again, be a adulteress. Adulterer. She got a man, but you want to go ahead and still deal with her because it's easy access and you ain't got to worry about taking her out, spending money on her. That's her husband's job. You just get the cakes. See, you got a lot of men, and the truth, they'll fall out. Just like the men that fell out back in 2000, And just like Apostle Tahar said, that was a test run. And guess what? 26 years later, Elder Tahar, Elder Gabar, Elder Ricard, Elder Ramblak, I think that's his name. That's Lucky. Like I said, I always say I'm doing my best in remembering these names, and trying to pronounce them also, you know. But they stuck around. The Heavenly Father gave them gave them that everlasting, spirit to hold on to the end. Tell you in Matthew. Let me go there. In Matthew 24, let's see. Matthew 24 and 13. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. And that's what the elders are doing. They are sticking to the end with the strength of who? Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Because Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai know how important this word need to be given out to the elect, the first spirits created. The Heavenly Father gave those men, those elders, longevity and this truth. And we are babies under our teachers, and we supposed to follow the lead of our teacher and do what? Go out there, be diligent, Romans 12, and present your body as a living sacrifice. And go out there and cry out loud, Isaiah 58 and 1. And don't care about what these people feel and think about you. If they're going to hear, they're going to hear it, they're going to run with it. If they're not going to, they choose not to, either, I think they said, either they're going to forbear or, not. They're going to take heed or not. That's on them. The blood is on them. It's our job to go out there and teach to the best of our ability to get this word out so that we can get the blood off our hands. I think that's Ezekiel 30, might be either, let's go to 33. It says here, and again the word, Ezekiel 33 and 1, and again the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, speak to the children of thy people, and say unto them, when I bring the sword, which is Esau, his military, upon a land, if the people of the land take a man of their coast and set him for their watchman, we are the watchmen. If when he sees the sword come, the enemy, and who's our number one enemy? Esau, Edom, come upon the land, and he blow the trumpet and warns the people. Then whosoever hears the sound of the trumpet and take not warning, if the sword come and take him away, his blood shall be upon his own head. So we out there giving you the warning, and you don't take heed. It's on your hand. Verse 5. He heard the sound of the trumpet and took not warning, his blood shall be upon his hand. But he that taketh warning shall deliver his soul. So, with the one that take warning, the people that listen, they took heed, they studied, and they took the information, and they took hold of the information, and it's going to be this word is going to be your stability. As they say in Isaiah 32 and 6, if I'm not mistaken. This word is going to be your protection. It's going to keep you in your right mind. It won't break you, because you can fall back on these lessons, on these scriptures I meant. To keep your mind together while everybody's losing their mind. But here's the point right here for the watchmen, the prophets out there pushing the truth. It said, but if the watchmen see the sword come and blow not the trumpet, and the people be not warned, if the sword come and take any person from among them, he is taken away in his iniquity, but his blood will I require at the watchman's hand. So, we doing, we doing what the Lord wants us to do. We're not falling back. We're not going to be rock back to sleep. Yahweh Ratazah, hope and pray that he don't put that spirit, in us, you know, because some of us are going to be here just for a season in the truth. And you don't want to be a season in the truth. You don't want to put the Lord to an open shame. And what I mean by that, I was listening to the brother out of Chicago, and it made hella sense. I never heard of it like that. For instance, like, you telling your family, you're not supposed to eat pork, you're not supposed to smoke weed, you're not supposed to be out there dealing with another woman, dealing with another man, woman. You're not supposed to be this, you're not supposed to be that, having long hair, you're not supposed to be lining your head, your beard, you're not supposed to have sex on the Sabbath, you are not supposed to, whatever the Bible tells us not to do, we supposed to go by the rules and the regulation, which is the laws and commandment that was given to the children of Israel. And that's what we proclaim right now, and so when you fall out, you fall back to sleep, you not stand, as I say, therefore stay awake. You're not staying awake anymore. You falling asleep, you're going right back into the world. Now your family members that you was so dearly trying to get them in, they see that you eating pork, they see that you smoking weed, they see that you getting your beard lined up and your head. They see that you're not going out there on the highway and byway no more. They see you ain't doing videos no more. They say, oh, look at you, you just like the rest of them. You're a hypocrite. You what happened? You fall back into the world again. Look at you. You talk all that righteous stuff. Now look, you dealing with a woman, and she got a man, and people, they're gonna laugh and scoff at you. And our people, when it come down to religious, you trying to be religious and you trying to get people, to follow suit, and then they see you out there doing that, they gonna scoff the hell out of you. And now, they're gonna film you and put you on YouTube. This is an example of these fake Hebrew Israelites. No, they ain't gonna say Hebrew Israelite. These black, Hebrew Israelite. He was in the coat. Now look at him. His old ways caught up with him. See what I'm saying? So, therefore, it says here, therefore stay awake, stay in this truth. Stay. Listen. For you men, keep your hand on the plow. For you women, just continue following your man. I was gonna say some, kind of, kind of graphic, but I'm not gonna say that. But you women, please follow your man. Deal with your man, and be a pillar of rest. Be righteous to him, because if the man is righteous, he doing the work. Guess what? You're gonna be saved because of him. You turning him down, you acting up, you catching the attitude because things, you feel should go your way and stuff like that. You're not being that virtuous woman. You're gonna be left behind. It says, therefore stay awake, for you do not know on what day your Lord Yahweh Bashim Shai, Yahweh Shai, is coming. But know this, that if the master of the house had known in what part of the night the thief was coming, he would have stayed awake and would not have let his house be broken in. So the deal is, if everybody, that's going back before 2000, if they, this is pretty much what it is. They truly thought that the Heavenly Father was going to come in 2000. So everybody gird up their loins, got their head in the Bible, out there on the highway and byway, hollering and screaming at people. I'm not going against that because that's just how it was back in the day. And it can still happen today out there on the highway and byway. The spirit take over. You see the wickedness of your own people, and sometimes, yeah, it's going to frustrate you. It's going to make you yell at these niggas because sometimes cussing at these niggas is the only way you're going to get them to pay attention and act right. You know, you know. But um, so a lot of those guys that was in the truth back in 2000, they figured, well, just like what I just read here. Let's say, but notice, I'm reading it again. But notice that if the master of the house had known, and what part of the night the thief was coming. See, those guys, they wholeheartedly thought that Yahweh was going to come January the 1st, you know, the start of 2000. And then when that didn't happen, guess what they did? They fell out. So check this out. Master of the house and knew in what part of the night the thief was coming, he would have stayed awake and would not have let his house be broken into. So those guys, again, they stayed awake because they were expecting the Lord to come 2000, right at 2000, the year 2000, and now one of them didn't want to drop the plow before the beginning of 2000 because they showed for, they thought for real that, Yahushua was going to show up 2000. And then when he didn't show up at the year 2000, guess what they did? They fell out. So a lot of those men, they was there temporary, at one point the Heavenly Father put the Spirit on them to believe, and then 2000 came. A lot of people, believe that we finna ready to get out of here, But like Tahar said, Elder Tahar Salakia had said that it was a test run on those unbelievers. Because the reason why I'm saying they were unbelievers, because if they believed, they would still be in it. They didn't endure to the end, like Matthew 24 and 13, wanting to be saved. They went right back in the world. They fell asleep. They did not stay woke. The elders that you see today, that was back in, before 2000, they still awake. They still in the truth. They still pushing it. These elders don't want to be left behind. Who want to be left behind? That's a lonely, scary feeling, to be left behind. To see the men that you hate so much, get beamed up and say that, they wasn't in the truth. They don't have the truth. These people, they hatred, towards the white man. The Lord ain't gonna let these guys into, the spirit, into heaven. No. Our God is John 3:16. He loved everybody. And when you see these prophets, and sincere prophets of the Lord, because they're sincere prophets of the Lord everywhere, not just GMS, but everywhere. But I would say this here, the bulk of them is in GMS. I will say that, and the men that that follow them and do this work, I really do believe that, But yeah, those guys, they stayed awake because they knew in their mind that Yahweh was going to come, But when he didn't show up, people felt they lost the spirit. The Heavenly Father had to weed them out. They went back into the world, putting gold grills in their mouth and rapping and smoking weed. It says here, he would have stayed awake and would not have let his house be broken into. Now your house is going to be broken into because you don't have no covering of Yahweh by Shem Shai. You know, you are going to rely on your AK, your Smith and Wesson, 40, you know, your Smith and Wesson 40 millimeter, 9 millimeter, all your assault weapons, you know, you believe in all. A lot of them went back into the church. You believe in on what pastor's saying now. You believe in what the government is saying and what they plan on doing. You going back to vote, you know. So you let the enemy come and break in your house. You took your guard down. You dropped the plow of serving the Lord, which was your covering, your protection. Now you have truly let the enemy in, and you have no protection. Therefore, you also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. So, yeah, you're going to be destroyed. The Heavenly Father, He's going to save His elect that endure to the end, and you, Negroes and niggerettes and simps and whatever the how you say the ginger. I can't even say it now. Let me get my tongue straight. um, oh man, the jitter I can't say it now. I got it on my mind, but I can't say it right now. You 2/3. I'll just say that. You're going to face the Lord. It said Babylon is going to be destroyed within an hour, you know, and you're going to be destroyed within an hour. You're going to catch that fire, that those missiles or whatever death coming your way. You're going to deal with it, you know. So you don't want to be left behind. I'm gonna end it right there. I went a little bit too far. I was gonna try to do at least, try to stay under 15 minutes. But when I get to talking, she locks me. It's just so much stuff that's on my mind. But anyway, let me just end it right here. Shalom.